As for the press, we defend the people's right to know almost everything. For a nation ignorant and free never was and never will be a democracy. We know that information is golden. It's the sine qua non of giving people choices before they are faced with a fait accompli.
هيلين إيميليا توماس، أيقونة الصحافة وسيدتها الأولى، الساعية لكشف الحقيقة بأي ثمن. هيلين توماس، العربية الأمريكية الرائدة في فتح أبواب العمل الصحفي أمام المرأة. هيلين توماس، عميدة الصحافة القوية المتواضعة الحازمة المرحة. كيف نستطيع رواية حكاية إنسانة أكبر من الحياة ذاتها؟ سنحاول. في تغطيتها فضيحة ووترغيت وفي عملها الصحفي عموما، التزمت هيلين توماس بما تعتبره القانون الأول في الصحافة، وهو
Never assume. Never assume. That's the first law. We all have a tendency to assume. And don't believe a president always.
First, I want to congratulate on radio and television Ms. Helen Thomas for being selected as the White House Bureau Chief for UPI. As I understand it, Ms. Thomas, this is the first time in history that a woman has been selected for that high post. We congratulate you. Ms. Thomas.
Mr. Haldeman, your former top aide in the White House, has been charged.
It was in the height of the Watergate scandal. So I stood there and I had this very mean question about certain things on the tape in March 23, I think it was. My colleagues obviously would think that I had submitted to this kind of flattery and so forth, and so I asked the question. I did feel bad about it, however. I thought the people would think I was insulting him after he had been nice to me. But I thought that was very, very important, and I did ask it.
Good evening. I want to talk to you tonight from my heart.
Nixon and his gang were capable of doing anything. So it was not a surprise what they break in the Democratic National Headquarters and so forth. It was certainly his Waterloo. One shoe after another was falling. I saw a man disintegrate before my very eyes. Not in charge anymore, and he certainly felt that way. I think he was a realization that he was losing his presidency. Orders came from the Pentagon not to take orders from Nixon, the President of the United States. So everyone was losing faith in his ability. He was meeting one group of congressmen after another, and they were all shaking their heads when they left. He was making threats. He knew that his days were numbered.
Let me see that you get these lights properly. Right. My eyes always.
He was ill-fated. I think that nothing he could do could change the picture, it changed the numbers. He's a tragic figure. So it was not a big surprise, but I was in the East Room when he announced his resignation.
More than anything.
It was very sad, tragic. His wife was crying, his daughters were crying. You never enjoy seeing a president go down like that. any president.
تقول هيلين توماس: لقد غطيت سقوط رئيسين جونسون ونيكسون اللذين فقدا القدرة على الإقناع وحكم البلاد عندما خسرا المصداقية لدى الشعب الأمريكي.
Mr. Vice President, are you prepared to take the oath of office as President of the United States?
I am, sir.
If you will raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I think that Ford was very well meant. People were happy that a man steady as you go was in charge. He had always aspired to be Speaker of the House. He'd never expected to be Vice President and then President. I think that he did well by just holding his own. I mean, he didn't do much innovating or anything else. It was kind of a shock for him to be president, but he did say the long nightmare is over when he was referring to Watergate, and that it had put him in this prime position. Well, it was interesting that he and his wife Rosalind marched down Pennsylvania Avenue. I think that was unique, and they really touched the people and became, they were really part of the people. Of course, a lot of Georgia Southerners were there and happy to be personified.
Right must be balanced with stable pricing structures. The passage of this legislation was
I think that
greatly needed.
he was not your prototype politician, and as a consequence, he didn't adapt well enough, even though he had a Democratic Congress. The screws were really tightening on him in terms of the economy and so forth. So I think everything he tried, they tried to block him. Even his own people on Capitol Hill were not with him.
Tonight I want to examine in a broad sense the state of our American Union.
Carter is a very good man, but he didn't understand all of the angles of politics big time, and the Reagan people were determined. And I could not believe that Carter would have lost the second time around.
You know, the 10th article of the Bill of Rights is very explicit in pointing out that the federal government should do only those things specifically called for in the Constitution. All others shall remain with the states or the people.
It was odd to me because he had been poor, came from a poor family. His father was a Democratic Paul, and they had gone through the Great Depression, but Reagan himself had his eyes on something bigger, and he headed west and never came back. He met a lot of moguls, but it was actually his wife, Nancy Reagan's, the second wife, whose father was a great brain surgeon, and he promoted the whole question of conservatism. He was a Birchite, and so as a consequence, Reagan changed his whole mind, even though he had been 6 terms union president of Screen Actors Guild. It was amazing how he had a 180-degree turnaround.
How do you do, everybody? I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ronald Reagan. A few months ago, I was a sports announcer on a radio station in Des Moines.
He was a good speaker. He had worked for a radio station in Iowa, so he loved communicating.
Randy! Where's the rest of me? Randy!
He was in some real tragedies and in some war movies. He didn't serve in the war except in Hollywood, cutting film, but he loved playing a hero.
And now, Helen, I know that Nancy upstairs would die. She's watching on television if I didn't call on you in that pretty red dress.
He was called the greatest communicator. I didn't think so, because I think it was all assumed so pro forma. But at the same time, people loved his Morning in America quest.
General Secretary Gorbachev, if you seek peace, if you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate.
I was high up in a tower with other reporters watching it. And it was dramatic, I must say that. I think that Reagan thought he was in a movie, but he was a hero for Americans.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wait a minute, before all the hands. Helen's in charge and she tells me I've used up all my time. I can't do it.
لم ينجح ما عرف عن الرئيس ريغان من كاريزما وأسلوب ودود في تغيير موقف هالن توماس من معظم سياساته وبخاصة المحلية منها.
I know he's being, what shall I say, idolized for his tear down that wall, Mr. President, tear down that wall. And that probably was a good spur, and he showed a lot of courage there. But it wasn't enough for me because of his whole domestic policy was so conservative, so restricted. Ketchup was a vegetable on the school lunch. People were being denied health care, everything else. Where was his heart? And he had been poor. I mean, he knew what it was. He knew what the struggle was.
I, George Herbert Walker Bush, do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
And will to the best of my ability.
I didn't think he had too much influence. But he obviously was a little more, less conservative as President Reagan. But on the other hand, he played ball. He knew, he understood the game. But to me, he was always a rich man in search of a job. He had been head of the Republican Party, chairman. He had been CIA for 10 months, CIA, and every time they put a paper in front of him, he signed it. Then he became vice president and then president. I think that basically he was more trusted, and he certainly was not as conservative or reactionary as his son. I think he was a good president, but not a spectacular and not a great president.
Last February, I sent to the Congress a balanced budget that maintains our fiscal discipline.
He certainly did straighten out the economy, left us with a surplus, so he understood the country. And I thought he did a good job in that sense, but he should have not played around. It hurt him a little much.
Despite the ongoing investigation, you felt no constraint in saying what your relationship with Monica Lewinsky was not. So it seems by logic that you ought to be able to say here and now, what was your relationship? Her lawyers called it colleagues. Is that an apt description?
Well, let me first of all say, once again, I never ask anybody to do anything but tell the truth.
Monica Lewinsky did not add to his greatness. He won't wind up on Mount Rushmore. He had good goals, but too modified. He tightened up a lot on the liberal measures. I wasn't quite sure he was a liberal at times.
في 17 من أيار للعام 2000 وإثر إعلان بيع وكالة UPI استقالت هيلين توماس من الوكالة بعد 57 عاما من العمل معها. بعد أقل من شهرين انضمت هيلين إلى مجموعة هيرست للصحف ككاتبة مقالات حول الشؤون الوطنية والبيت الأبيض. كانت هذه نقطة تحول هامة في مسيرة هيلين توماس المهنية، فمن موقعها الجديد بدأت بالتعبير عن آرائها الصريحة، فكتبت عن الانتخابات الرئاسية عام 2000 وتناولت في مقالاتها الأيام الأخيرة للرئيس كلينتون في البيت الأبيض. كما غطت كتاباتها القادم الجديد إلى المكتب البيضاوي جورج دبليو بوش.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, George W. Bush.
I don't think he ever aspired to be president. He lucked out. He didn't really have great aspirations for mankind in any way. No great ideals. Very defiant of his father and didn't want to take any kind of advice. His father wasn't around that much. Father and son seemed estranged, or they praised each other, stood by each other, did all the right things, but they didn't understand each other.
لم يمضي وقت طويل على تولي بوش منصبه حتى عبرت هيلين توماس في مقالاتها عن نقدها الحاد لسياساته وقرارات إدارته.
Lester, I have no idea.
بالرغم من ذلك أبقت هيلين على علاقة جيدة مع السكرتير الصحفي للبيت الأبيض آري فليتشر. لكن ذلك تغير بعد ذلك اليوم الفارق من أيلول العام 2001.
I certainly didn't know the extent of the plot or who was involved.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knocked these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
I think half the story has not been told of 9/11. I think it was a horrible thing, but I do think it was became the foundation for taking away many of our liberties.
It is now my honor to sign into law the USA Patriot Act of 2001.
I thought it terrible. I don't like any act that restricts my rights as a human being. I thought it created an atmosphere of fear in this country and hatred and helplessness. When the neocons came into power, and they're still in power, we lost our soul. I think it was the neocons who were all running the administration, Bush administration. Neocons wanted war.
Even 7,000 miles away, across oceans and continents, on mountaintops and in caves, you will not escape the justice of this nation.
I don't think there were any Afghans in that whole plot, but they needed an excuse to go in. All their initiatives was to get us into war, mainly against Iraq. People who ask for war don't go to fight it. All the neocons in our government and outside government, think tanks, brought war. but none of them went to Vietnam or any other war. They should be on trial.
Helen?
Since you speak for the president, we have no access to him. Can you categorically deny that the United States will take over the oil fields when we win this war, which is apparently obvious and you're on your way, and I don't think you doubt your victory? Oil. Is it about oil?
Helen, as I've told you many times, if this had anything to do with oil, the position of the United States would be to lift the sanctions so the oil could flow. This is not about that. This is about...
Divided up the oil already, divvied it up with the Russians and French and so forth. Isn't that true?
What's the source of these reports?
Reporters were not happy with me. The looks on their faces, the back talk. They want to keep peace.
He's the person that can make the choice of war and peace.
في مؤتمره الصحفي الأخير قبل إعلان الحرب على العراق، تجاهل الرئيس بوش أسئلة هالن واختتم المؤتمر بنفسه.
For the sake of peace in the world and for freedom to the Iraqi people, we will disarm Saddam Hussein. And by we, as more than America, a lot of nations will join us. Thank you for your questions. Good night.
وأنهى بذلك التقليد المعمول به في المؤتمرات الصحفية الرئاسية ابتداء من فترة الرئيس جون كينيدي، حيث تقوم هالن توماس بوصفها عميدة المراسلين بطرح السؤال الأول على الرئيس وإنهاء اللقاء بعبارتها الشهيرة: شكرا السيد الرئيس.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world.
I know that presidents do suffer sending people to war, but you never had this feeling that they suffer enough. We have no right to be in Afghanistan or Iraq. It's self-imposed fiascos. What the hell are we doing halfway around the world, killing and dying? Why? I don't understand why we keep going into these situations. American people don't demand explanation, and they should.
عام 2006 وفي أول مؤتمر صحفي يتقبل فيه الرئيس بوش سؤالا من هالن توماس بعدما يقارب 3 سنوات من تجاهله لها، تصر هالن على معرفة الدوافع الحقيقية لدى الإدارة الأمريكية لشن الحرب على العراق.
Your decision to invade Iraq has caused the deaths of thousands of Americans and Iraqis. Every reason given has turned out not to be true. My question is, why did you really want to go to war?
I think your premise, and all due respect to your question...
There was never an explanation of why we went into Iraq. There was no truth told in any way. No weapons of mass destruction, no ties to Al-Qaeda.
No, hold on for a second, please.
I don't understand how a president cannot explain to people why they're being told to die. I'm still waiting for an answer. You don't ask them, President, that question. It's too far, too close to home. Who's going to say oil? We died for oil. Who's going to say we died for Daddy because the threat was made against his life? He said in his memoirs, and I didn't read it completely, so I shouldn't talk, but he did say his only regret was that he didn't find the weapons of mass destruction. Thousands of people are dead on the basis of those lies, and Ari Fleischer dealt them out every day. Weapons of mass destruction. How can they live with their conscience? Do they have a conscience? I doubt it.
خلال الفترتين الرئاسيتين لجورج بوش، استمرت هيلين توماس في توجيه النقد الحاد للإدارة، لا سيما ما يتعلق بالتجسس والتنصت غير القانونيين على المواطنين الأمريكيين والتعذيب الممنهج للمعتقلين.
He put his hand on the Bible twice to uphold the Constitution. Wiretapping is not legal under the circumstances without a warrant.
Well, I guess you didn't pay attention to the Attorney General's hearing earlier today, because he walked through very clearly the rationale behind this program. And Helen, I think you have to ask. Are we? Well, he's not. Are we a nation at war?
That's not the question.
No, that is the issue here.
The point is, there are means for him to.
I hate spies. I hate spying. I think it was terrible. I think it was an invasion of our privacy and created a society suspicious of everyone.
The United States has not, is not torturing any detainees in the global war on terror. And General Hayden, amongst others, have spoken on Capitol Hill fully in this regard, and it is, I'll leave it where it is, when the President's accurate in saying what he said.
That's not my question. My question is, why did he say publicly we do not torture?
Because
and
we do
when
not.
he really did know that we do.
For the U.S. to be identified with torture, it was beyond my wildest dreams, and so shameful.
Fellow citizens, for 8 years it has been my honor to serve as your president. The first decade of this new century has been a period of consequence, a time set apart. Tonight, with a thankful heart,
I thought that Bush was certainly not up to the presidency. I think he was the worst president we had in our time.
في الانتخابات الأولية لتحديد المرشح الديمقراطي للانتخابات الرئاسية عام 2008 كانت هيلاري كلينتون المرشح المفضل لدى هيلين توماس، لكن ذلك سرعان ما تغير.
Helen, I've missed you.
Thank you.
She hated being first lady in the sense she wanted to be co-president, much more power. Fair enough. I liked that ambition. I didn't know what really Obama stood for, and I certainly thought it would be great to have a woman president. But she was too hawkish in the end for me. It was easy to swing over to another Democrat.
Today we're going to be focusing a lot on jobs because obviously with the economy is in such a hole, one of the things that we want to make sure of is that we leave no stone unturned when it comes to helping people get jobs.
I liked the package. He tried to bolster industry, giving them money. But I think he also forgot the ordinary working man. And he thought that Wall Street is going to really revive everything. Well, they have really disappointed. He really let them down. And I'm glad to see this whole revolt against Wall Street. Wonderful. People should start acting up. And they shouldn't be taking all this stuff. They shouldn't be having the country sold out. How much money do they need? How much greed can we tolerate?
تؤكد هالين توماس الإنسانة والصحفية إيمانها بالعدالة الاجتماعية وانحيازها للفقراء والأقل حظاً، فتقول: الصحفيون إذا ما فتحوا عيونهم يرون ما يجري حولهم أكثر بكثير من أي شخص آخر. إنها وظيفتهم. ترى الفقراء، ترى الجياع، ترى المعاناة. أنا لا أفهم كيف يمكنك أن ترى كل ذلك ولا تكون ليبرالياً. لم تكن هالين توماس مترددة أبدا في التصريح عن قناعاتها، سواء في أقوالها أو كتاباتها الصحفية أو مؤلفاتها. في عام 2009 صدر كتاب هالين الأخير استمع سيادة الرئيس، تخاطب فيه ساكن البيت الأبيض موضحة الصفات التي يجب أن يمتلكها الرئيس لكي يكون قائدا جيدا. والصفة الأهم كما تراها هالين:
guts, courage to pay the price at any cost, which means your political future. It's always interesting how a past president is in search of a job.
Helen Thomas.
President, when are you going to get out of Afghanistan? Why are you continuing to kill and die there? What is the real excuse? And don't give us this Bushism, if we don't go there, they'll all come here.
Well, Helen, the reason we originally went to Afghanistan was because that was the base from which attacks were launched that killed 3,000 people. And I'm going to get to your question, I promise. But I just want to remind people, we went there because the Taliban was harboring al-Qaeda.
He had one chance to get out a day after he became president.
Al-Qaeda.
It would have been acceptable. Eisenhower did that, a great general. So he didn't have to worry about being called a coward. What's a coward?
But increasingly are willing to conduct their own terrorist operations.
President Obama has sent letters to everybody, the families of everybody who's died in the last few years under his watch. They're calling it his war. It must be painful to him. I mean, sorry, nice to get a letter from the President of the United States. You can treasure it, preserve it, but that doesn't bring anybody back. Doesn't explain why they died. I really thought Obama would be less disappointing. I thought that he would have more courage. I don't think he has the courage to move in the right direction.
All right, Helen?
Mr. President, do you think that Pakistan and are maintaining the safe havens in Afghanistan for these so-called terrorists? And also, do you know of any country in the Middle East that has nuclear weapons?
Well,
when they dance around on a simple question like that, you know they're just evading. And I don't understand avoiding a question like who has the nuclear weapons in the Middle East.
And
it's a very simple question.
Ambassador Holbrooke, as he is traveling throughout the region, is to deliver a message to Pakistan.
How can Obama face himself? Never once talk about the Israeli nuclear arsenal that can blow up the whole Middle East. Never once.
It's not acceptable.
He's always sided with the Israelis, publicly anyway.
بدأ ذلك النهار كيوم اعتيادي في واشنطن، لكنه سيصبح أحد الأيام الفارقة في حياة هالين توماس.
Well, it was Jewish Heritage Week. I didn't even know that. I was walking down the White House path, and I was stopped by a man, and he turned out to be a Jewish rabbi, which I didn't know, and he certainly did not identify himself. And he asked me what I thought about Israel, and I said that everybody should go back to their own country, and I don't regret saying that.
وكان نشر مقطع الفيديو على يوتيوب بداية حملة شرسة تتهم هالن توماس بالمعاداة للسامية.
I can't blame him for waylaying me. He turned out to be a very fake journalist, or whatever he was. He was definitely trying to do a job on me, and he did. But I can't regret, because what I said, I walked right into it.
في الأيام التالية تضخمت الحملة ضدها ككرة ثلج، وقامت شخصيات سياسية وإعلامية معروفة بتأييدها لإسرائيل باستغلال الفرصة، مطالبة بمعاقبة هالن توماس وفصلها من عملها. بعد حوالي أسبوع من تلك الحملة، وفي محاولة لإنقاذ عملها، استجابت هالن توماس لطلب مديرها في مجموعة هيرست للصحف، وأصدرت اعتذارا عن تصريحاتها السابقة، موضحة إيمانها بأن السلام في الشرق الأوسط لن يتحقق حتى يسود الاحترام والتسامح بين جميع الأطراف.
Does the president have any reaction to the controversy over Helen's remarks that were publicized Friday?
Well, I've not spoken with him directly on that. I would say this, Tommy, I think those remarks were offensive and reprehensible. I think she should and has apologized because...
لكن هذا الاعتذار لم يخفف من حدة الهجوم على هالن توماس الذي اتسع ليشمل جمعية مراسلي البيت الأبيض. في 7 حزيران من العام 2010 قامت الجمعية بإصدار بيان يتبرأ من تصريحات هالن ويطالب بحرمانها من امتيازاتها كعميدة مراسلي البيت الأبيض. مثل هذا البيان سابقة في تاريخ جمعية مراسلي البيت الأبيض. قبل نهاية ذلك اليوم أصدرت مجموعة هيرست للصحف بيانا قالت فيه إن هالن توماس أعلنت عن تقاعدها بعد تصريحاتها حول إسرائيل والفلسطينيين. وهكذا أجبرت هالن توماس على التقاعد بعدما يزيد عن 50 عاما قضتهم في تغطية 10 رؤساء مروا في البيت الأبيض. من الجانب الآخر ارتفعت بعض الأصوات مطالبة بعودة هالن توماس إلى عملها. ففي استطلاع للرأي أجرته صحيفة الواشنطن بوست عبر 92% من المشاركين عن رفضهم لإحالة هالن توماس على التقاعد نتيجة تصريحاتها. كما طالب المرشح الرئاسي السابق رالف نادر بإعادة هالن توماس إلى عملها. وطالبت بعض الأصوات من اليهود الأمريكيين بالشيء ذاته.
I'm here to say that I know from many dealings with Helen Thomas, she is not anti-Semitic, she is not anti-Israel, she is pro-human rights for all, both Israeli Jews and Palestinians.
لم يكن لهذه الأصوات تأثيرا كبيرا في مواجهة حملة الهجوم على هالن توماس التي استمرت حتى بعد فقدها لعملها. فقد قامت بعض الجمعيات الصحفية والأكاديمية بإلغاء أو تجميد عدد من جوائز التميز الصحفي التي تحمل اسم هالن توماس، ومن ضمنها جامعة وين التي تخرجت منها هالن.
I was depressed by it, but I never had any regrets. I believe in the truth. I think it's wrong to take what doesn't belong to you.
And that is what got her through many crises, her resilience. She believed in what she said. It didn't matter if she was on camera or off camera, it was the same person. She was passionate about her beliefs. whether it was getting the truth from U.S. presidents or justice for the Palestinians. And she had no remorse, and why should she?
The Palestinian issue has been on the agenda at the UN since 1947. Americans and the world, not totally the world, Americans are so totally ignorant of that history. And they've been so brainwashed and so propagandized. There's only one point of view for them. It's the Israeli point of view. They have no idea of how many people have suffered, how many Arabs. Having their land, their water, their orchards burned, water taken. What is this?
تتذكر هالين توماس زيارتها الأولى إلى منطقة الشرق الأوسط بعد حرب عام 48.
My first trip was vacation, really, but I learned a lot about what had happened to the Palestinians. It was very fresh then, 54. I met Palestinian families had been wiped out, homes gone, their land gone, taken by the Israeli army. I saw the injustice of it all. So my impression was U.S. was so wrong to supporting them. Everything was rigged in favor of the Israelis, and after their victory in war, they immediately had an agenda to get into the UN instantly, and we supported that. They woke up Truman at 3 o'clock in the morning in his pajamas practically, and he came down to recognize the state of Israel. And now President Obama says there are no shortcuts. 3 o'clock in the morning.
تشير هالين توماس هنا إلى ما قاله الرئيس أوباما في خطابه في الأمم المتحدة في أيلول العام 2011 قبيل استخدام الولايات المتحدة حق النقد ضد طلب السلطة الوطنية الفلسطينية انضمام فلسطين إلى الأمم المتحدة كدولة كاملة العضوية.
But the question isn't the goal that we seek. The question is, how do we reach that goal? And I am convinced that there is no shortcut to the end of a conflict that has endured for decades. Peace is hard work.
He has rejected history. Hypocrisy is not new in politics, but this was the most blatant example I've ever seen. Because on television, you heard 1 minute praising the peace movement and praising the move for democracy and freedom. Next minute, but we can't have shortcuts to freedom. What shortcuts? How many thousands of people are dead?
Yeah, he fell about 2 months ago and broke his leg, but he's been doing physical therapy, so he's walking quite a bit.
Oh, good.
سواء اتفقت معها أم اختلفت، لا شك أن هالين توماس دفعت ثمنا باهظا نتيجة شجاعتها في التعبير عن مواقفها.
We went and had a bite.
That was nice.
Yeah. Shortly after the attack on Helen, obviously she wasn't in the mood to socialize. She was feeling down. She was feeling abandoned. So a group of us got together and said, look, we need to do something, not just to bring her out of this funk, but to celebrate her life. She's going to turn 90. Let's put on a party. At first, she was resistant. And that's her nature. She didn't want to celebrate herself. And quite honestly, she wasn't in the mood to celebrate at all. But we were able to convince her, and she was very funny about it. She says, I'm going to pick the venue, Mama Aisha, her favorite Palestinian restaurant in Washington. She'll pick the people, close friends and relatives and some colleagues, and we're not going to make a big deal about it. So we said sure. And everybody was certain that at 90 she was going to be in and out and in bed, tucked in by 9 o'clock. Well, the party went on, most people left, and 11 o'clock she was still there, still as feisty as ever, and ready to tell stories and thanked us for basically putting on the party that she at first didn't want. And it was probably, I would say, one of the happier birthdays anybody could have, especially having gone through what she did.
كان لدور عدد من أصدقاء هيلين توماس الأثر الكبير في مساعدتها على تجاوز الآثار المؤلمة التي سببتها حملة الاغتيال المعنوي التي تتعرض لها.
And she had many friends, and she had many followers, and everybody who knew her as somebody who was intellectually honest and resilient. And I think those two things are what brought her through all sorts of crises, including the character assassination towards the end of her life. It would have probably put most people out of commission, but her belief in what she said and her cause was probably the thing that brought her out of what normally would have been a retirement or a major depression for most people, but she came back, and she came back with a gusto.
بعد أشهر من تقاعدها الإجباري استفسرنا منها عن أكثر ما تفتقده في العمل في البيت الأبيض، فقالت:
It would be nice to be there, but I don't miss it that much. I'm still reading, still learning, still writing. I'm lucky. Dying with my boots on.
مع بداية عام 2011 عادت هيلين توماس للعمل وهي في 90 من عمرها ككاتبة رأي في صحيفة Falls Church News Press الإلكترونية.
She got back up. She got a job. How many people will get a job at 90 and continue to work as she wanted to her very last day?
وعادت هيلين للمشاركة في العديد من النشاطات الثقافية وإلقاء المحاضرات بالرغم من تدهور وضعها الصحي.
This isn't sort of a specific question, but if you could explain a little bit about how you started as a journalist in the White House, how you developed the story and researched it.
And but they had to limit the number of American reporters going.
وتم تكريم هيلين توماس من عدد من المنظمات العربية الأمريكية.
ADC did a major event for her, brought the community out. She was feeling very, very strong and very, very much appreciated again, which she should have had feeling all along, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to recover.
وأضيف تمثال نصفي لهيلين إلى المتحف العربي الأمريكي في ولاية ميشيغان. ولم يقتصر نشاط هيلين توماس على الولايات المتحدة، ففي نهاية عام 2011 شاركت عن بعد في مهرجان كرامة لأفلام حقوق الإنسان في الأردن عبر رسالة مصورة تم عرضها في افتتاح المهرجان.
I'd like to congratulate the people who are attending the Karama Festival in Jordan, Amman, Jordan. I think they are heroes.
وتم تكريم هيلين بجائزة خاصة.
This year, Karama Human Rights Film Festival is holding an empty chair recognition for veteran White House reporter, 91-year-old Helen Thomas. Karama believes that the empty chair recognition for Helen Thomas is more than mere symbolism.
شهد هذا المكان آخر مشاركة عامة لهيلين توماس.
The last public appearance for Helen was in October of 2012, and it was a banquet in her honor at the decision of the Antiochian Orthodox Archdiocese. Archbishop Philip Saliba bestowed upon her the highest medal of honor, the Antonian Medal.
The Antonian Gold Medal of Merit is conferred upon Helen Thomas, given at RC the 12th day of October 2012, Metropolitan Philip Saliba.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you. What can I say? The words escape me. I'm so overwhelmed by all the kindness in all this room and all the people here who deserve it more than I.
And she was surrounded by friends and colleagues. It was a sold-out event. We felt bad. People wanted to come. We just didn't have any more room. It was a fire marshal issue. But Helen, in her 90s, was drawing crowds that people at the prime of their career couldn't draw.
when a priest is ordained, we sing the words, he is worthy. Now we clergy will sing to you, she is worthy, she is worthy, she is worthy.
في 20 من تموز من العام 2013 فارقت هيلين توماس الحياة في شقتها في واشنطن دي سي عن عمر يناهز 92 عاما.
After Helen passed, we had a small viewing, the priest and her niece and myself, and she looked beautiful. She was very much at peace and calm. It was a vision of beauty, and we have a saying that may her memory be eternal, and in Helen's case, there's no question. Her memory and her work will be eternal.
في واشنطن كما في كل مكان تنتهي حكايات معظم الناس بالموت. أما حكاية هيلين توماس فمختلفة، فهي مستمرة في الحقيقة التي سعت لكشفها من خلال أسئلتها وكتبها التسعة. هي مستمرة في ضحكتها المميزة وحس الدعابة لديها، في فنجان القهوة العربية الذي اعتادت قراءة طالعها فيه مع صديقة عمرها ماما عيشة. حكاية هيلين مستمرة في شوارع هذه المدينة وأرصفتها التي لن تنسى تلك الصحفية الشابة القادمة من ديترويت. حكايتها مستمرة في ذكراها لدى كل من أحبها وأعجب بها وتعلم منها. وأخيرا فحكاية هيلين توماس تتواصل في سؤال يخطر ببال كل صحفي يسعى لكشف الحقيقة حين يسأل نفسه: لو كانت هيلين توماس مكاني ماذا كانت لتسأل؟